1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're doing well. A little overcast. Nobody's complaining. We need a little rain, and the weekend looks pretty nice. So get the rain today and be done with it and have a nice Easter weekend. Patty DeDominic is on the phone. She was inducted into the Women's Business Owners Hall of Fame. That's kind of cool. She's the Chief Catalyst, it says here, and Chief Operations Officer of Maui Mastermind. She was named CEO of the Year by the Los Angeles Business Journal. She's a business coach. I guess you saw that coming. And the former chairperson of the Foundation for SCORE, which, let's see if I remember right, SCORE, the senior, never mind. Do you remember, Rob?
I don't recall what it stands for.
Patty's on the phone to talk to us about entrepreneurship and how we can, as entrepreneurs, grow our business without, sacrificing our personal lives. And, that even goes for when you're actually working for somebody else. Either way, your personal life should stay intact. I've always believed anyway. Good morning, Patty. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Happy to be on the air with you because I really want to share the message about building businesses that are more than just a job, a great business, but a creation of jobs for other people as well.
All right. Patty, where are you? Where are you calling from?
Well, I'm actually right here in Fort Lauderdale today. I'm enjoying this wonderful week with family in Florida.
Okay. Because the Maui threw me. I was wondering if you were in Hawaii somewhere.
I do get to Maui once or twice a year. We have wealth retreats there. We'll be there in November at the Ritz-Carlton, and as a matter of fact, in beautiful Kaanapali Beach.
There have been a couple of big events that catapulted some people, maybe you might say involuntarily, into entrepreneurship. One of those events was the attacks on September 11th, 2001, where people just said, you know what? Life is too unpredictable. I'm going to do what I love doing and get out of this job I hate doing. That was one of them. Do you see stories like that happening a lot? And did something similar happen for you? What catapulted you into entrepreneurship?
Well, for me, into entrepreneurship, that started back in 1979 and 1981 when I started a business. I really was looking for the perfect job. And I interviewed with dozens of places, and I did get job offers, but I didn't think they were the right job for me. So, like we all do, I criticized a little bit the interviewers and criticized some of the companies. And I said, I can do this better. Let me provide a great service for job hunters. So that's what happened. And in fact, I built a business that grew to over 600 employees over 25 years.
Wow. What did you do? What was your business?
We were headhunters. Staffing company.
Okay.
We did all sorts of outsourcing and contract HR. Now,
to me, and kind of fill in the blanks that I'm going to present here, I think there are like three types of entrepreneurs. The person who has nothing and basically literally starts with maybe a pencil and a piece of paper or something, or maybe a hot dog stand, but even that's something. And then there's the person who has some money put away and they decide to invest it in themselves. And then there's the person who goes out and gets a loan for that same money. Do you have any thoughts on which? Is there one better avenue, or could a person literally start from the first category with nothing at all?
People do start from the first category with nothing at all, especially now with technology and enabling people, plus incubators, and there's some great business incubators here in Florida and across the country, environments where you can literally plug into support systems, expert resources that used to cost thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Remind us what SCORE stands for. It's senior something, right?
SCORE, Service Corps.
Oh, Service Corps.
Executives, yeah.
Retired. Oh, that's where I thought the senior came from. Okay, so
and there's some great SCORE volunteers here in Florida. They're wonderful executives, come down from New York. Many have built businesses here in the South as well. Corporate executives, entrepreneurs, all shapes and sizes. So people can plug into score.org or go into their local SCORE office for free business counseling if they need it.
What do you think? What resource is available for the common questions? Is SCORE the best resource? And common questions could be anything from how much do I charge for my product or service to How far should I expand it? I mean, I'm guessing there's a million questions.
Well, I believe that SCORE is one of the best national resources here in the United States for people who are starting a business. So if you're thinking about starting a business, you can go in, run that path, or you can attend one of the very low-cost seminars that SCORE provides. Now, for people who have already started their business and have revenues, but maybe feel a little bit trapped because the business is totally dependent upon them, well, that's when they might want to go to a business development center, or maybe they want to tap into the resources available at Maui at MauiMastermind.com. There's free books, tools, and other resources for people who need starter help and aren't ready to invest a great deal of money in their business.
If a person is too close to their business, is it better to get someone from the outside to do an evaluation to help them succeed?
Well, we all know that feedback is the breakfast of champions, right? It doesn't always feel good to get that feedback,
right.
But we grow better if we have input. And what happens, most of us get input from our spouse, our parents, our friends, and, they're possibly well-meaning, but not always. And sometimes they have agendas. They want us to keep our secure job, or they don't think that we can do this. But they're looking at it from their own lens. And it's really, really helpful. It's like when you have an eye problem, you want that doctor to look at your eyes through the lens of an eye doctor. And it's the same thing. When somebody goes to SCORE, their business gets looked at by the lens of a business coach. And that's what Maui offers as well, business coaches for those people who built a business that's doing more than a couple $100,000 a year that they someday want to scale or maybe even own less actively.
Yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about Robin and myself. We are entrepreneurs, not here, not at this radio station. This radio station, we are employees. But outside of here, we are. We produce music and sell music, and we produce books and sell books. And it was slow, and we built it up to what it is today. I can remember in the beginning, though, looking for something, and I even went to a magazine called Entrepreneur Magazine, and it was loaded with advertisements of different people saying, here's what you should do, sign up with my company, and I actually bought into one of them. I paid, I think, a few hundred, maybe $350 for this company and then you had to buy, that was just to sign up, and then you had to buy their products, and you had to buy their catalogs, and it was a big investment, well, a minorly big investment. Anyway, the point is that you could make money with that, and a lot of people were making money with it. And Robin and I realized at one point that we don't want to be selling little trinkets. We don't want to be selling stuff. We're spending all day trying to get people to buy stuff, and they're buying it, but we're not doing what we really want to do, which was to make music and write books. So we decided to, and that to me is the litmus test. Do you agree that you should do? I don't know. Some people disagree. Some people say, nah, do something that makes money, and then you can do what you want to do later on.
That second comment that you've made is one that our parents frequently told us, and the previous generation's parents. They were the ones who were able to start a career. If they did start a career, maybe they went to work for the railroad or the government. They started working after they finished college, if they went to college, and then they worked for 20 or 30 years, and if they were lucky, they got a gold watch. But our generation didn't get that. So we knew, because of unpredictable things that were going to be happening in the environment, the economy, in business, layoffs, downsizing, right-sizing, that tomorrow was unpredictable. The only thing that we were assured of was this moment that we're living today. So we sure recommend that people love what they do. But not everybody has that opportunity. And sometimes you've built a business that becomes such a treadmill, you don't really love the demands or the employees or managing. And yet, not a lot of colleges, even in an MBA course, they don't really teach entrepreneurship. So to be able to learn to delegate, to set up systems and controls, those are the things that a business coach that's coaching in the way we do will help an entrepreneur grow.
So when that entrepreneur starts growing, he still needs to have that courage to persevere. And sometimes with the setbacks, that courage wanes.
That's so true. And it's not in entrepreneurship, and when you own your own business, it's not when a setback occurs, it's how often they occur and how quickly you will be resilient enough to respond to them. And then the other thing is, when you set up certain kinds of systems, when you map out the things that you know that you should do for your clients, and you really have some good plan for how that will take place, and it's documented, and your team or your contractors know what those systems are, then it can be replicated and improved upon. Because, of course, as soon as you start telling your team how to do things, they're going to start telling you why it doesn't work. Or if you're lucky, you'll get that feedback that, what's wrong with it. So that dialogue between you and your team really helps to flesh out and get the kinks out of the system, plus the feedback from the customers. You'll know if you're successful because your customers come back and keep buying. And if you lose customers, then getting that feedback from them about why they left really helps make decisions about how you want to structure your service in the future.
And that's the part that stings when they tell you why they left, right? Patty DeDominic is our guest right now, calling in from Fort Lauderdale. The website associated with this interview is MauiMastermind.com, Maui as in the island in Hawaii. I went to the website, so let me ask you about some of the things I'm looking at on here. You have different categories, the 8 biggest business pitfalls, some solutions for business startups. Where is the website directing us to go? Are you encouraging us to sign? Because I know you have free books and free videos. So is MauiMastermind.com? Is this your business?
I'm a partner in the business.
Okay.
And, this is David Finkel, and you will see him on the website. He's done over 3,000 training videos to help people build all different types of businesses. So whether it's a fire sprinkler business, a carpet business, or a technology business. So, for example, I'm working this week with an entrepreneur who has a business that makes mobile apps. So all different kinds of business resources exist on that site, and when you download the book, that sort of tells you our basic roadmap for building a business, not just a job.
Okay, so tell me about some of the pitfalls. They're on the website, and maybe we can kind of expand on some of these things. Some of the things we should not be doing.
Well, so for example, when you're an entrepreneur and you start your own business, and I want to distinguish, plenty of entrepreneurs may have inherited their business. Your father started it, your brother started it, your mother, and you took over because you had skills. Maybe you left your secure corporate job, or you came down here from the Northeast, and now you're ready for a different kind of lifestyle here. This happens a lot, and we sometimes get so busy dealing with the day-to-day whirlwind of what's going on. The phone's ringing, customers, email broke down, junk mail, all sorts of things that we have to do, that we forget to take time to step back and look at the business as a whole, or at my week as a whole, as instead of just whatever the alligator is that we're wrestling at the moment.
Okay,
and
so
I get it.
So it sounds like the part of what you're doing with your coaching service is getting people not necessarily to start as an entrepreneur, but to figure out a way to make their entrepreneurial enterprise better, and better in 2 ways. One, to make more money, I guess, and the other one is to give yourself more freedom. Does that sound accurate?
It's absolutely accurate. And let me give you an example. I started my company with myself and rented office space. And then in 2 weeks, I hired my first employee. And shortly after that, another month, we hired a few more employees. By the time I sold, over 20 years later, I had 600 employees. I assure you, I was not working more hours in 2006, the year that I sold my business, than I was in 1979 when I started my business, and it had grown by over 600 times to become a multi-million-dollar business. So how do you do that?
Yeah.
Well, you do that by upgrading the business owner's use of time. So in the beginning, I was the telephone solicitor. I talked to every potential client. I interviewed every potential employee. Okay, I needed that control. I wanted to assure that service. Many small entrepreneurs make that mistake. They try to do too much. They erroneously think that they have control by doing everything. But in reality, you have less control because you haven't mapped out systems and you're owner dependent. A company that gives you freedom and hopefully more enjoyment enables you to help grow other people's careers, get the benefit of their brilliant brain power when they're working on your business problems and you've only been looking at it from your example, from your perspective.
Is it better to start up a business that has tangible products to sell or a business that provides services?
That depends on your area of expertise and the way that you want to make your money. Plenty of companies are doing online businesses now, and it is possible to have a multi-million-dollar business that's online. Other folks love to invent. Of course, you heard about the recent Facebook purchase, right?
Yeah.
Facebook buys for $2 billion a company that does virtual reality. That's a really, really interesting story. I don't know if you followed any of it, but the fellow who was the original inventor and stuff, he was really just a fan of gaming and virtual reality. And he just kept wanting to have a better headset, one that didn't have delays, didn't make him sick to his stomach. And I understand he has the largest collection of virtual reality headsets of anyone. Now, he said
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Don't work. Most of them don't work. But what he did, he just kept at it, and he kept at it. So in his particular case, it was his passion and his curiosity that drove him. Now, somebody else cares about helping others, and somebody else sees a need. I don't want to make a judgment about the type of business that's going to be more successful. It can all be extremely successful if you set up the right systems, controls, and you empower your team.
Patty DeDominic is our guest. We're talking about becoming an entrepreneur or becoming a better entrepreneur. Her website is MauiMastermind.com. And I wanted to mention that you brought up Facebook, and maybe you know something I don't know, but this is what it looked like to me. It looked like Mark Zuckerberg came up with this idea so that people could connect with each other, and nobody had to pay to be on there. So where would the money be made? The money would be made by people advertising to the people he attracts to be on there, right? I'm on Facebook. I see an ad. Somebody paid for that ad, and guess what? That's what makes Facebook money. So advertising is clearly an important part of any business. If you're going to spread the word out around about what you're doing or what you're offering or what you're selling, yeah, you have to advertise it somehow. So do you as a coach advise people on this? Because we do advertising here, obviously, and our sales executives will be the first one to tell any client, radio might not work for you, or radio would definitely be good for you. We'll be the first ones to say this is not for you or this is for you, and that's got to be important to the client, because they don't want to spend their money on a newspaper ad, let's say, if newspaper's not going to work for them.
Absolutely. And I think the important thing is that the business owner or the person responsible for marketing and sales within the company needs to really clearly understand who your market is. And I know that you, Larry and Robin, you have a really special demographic. The people listening are active in their community. I've listened to some of your previous shows, and I was on your website. So you've got an engaged local audience. So I would say anybody who has a local business and really depends upon word of mouth in the community, local sports activities, anything like that, they need to be on the radio. And they also need to leverage public relations as well. So advertising, communications, how you handle your existing customers, these things work hand in hand. And no one thing is going to be savior for anybody, but working together with the right resources, you leverage the dollars that you're spent. And that's what we also like to tell the business owner to do, leverage their time so they use their hours in the most impactful ways.
And it sounded like you were kind of giving testimony to the fact that sometimes cold calling is very valuable. It sounded like you did that a lot in your course of your career. Patty, we do have a phone call coming in. Let's take a caller from who is listening. Good morning. You're on the air with Patty DeDominic.
Hey, this is Bruce. Listen, I started a business in Gainesville, and it's camera stores. And show you how it started. I went over to the University of Florida and asked them procurement officer how I could go about getting some of their businesses. You work cost plus 10, you know. So he said, well, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but it cost plus 10. Well, I put the first bid in the first month, cost plus 10 less 10 cents. And guess what happened? I got $10,000. I had to go over to the bank and borrow money.
Wow.
And just gives an example of some of those things. And then I opened a store up in Tallahassee, and I did the same thing. And so then we finally opened up in the mall, one of the Click stores. It just shows you. But you work on a short profit to start with. You work hard. You spend a lot of hours at it. But once it gets going, then you just sit back a little and relax and just keep your fingers on that people aren't running away with your money. That's all. Anything else? You got any commitment on that at all?
No, that sounds like a really good testimony. Yeah.
I love that story. Well, first of all, you demonstrated the first and one of the most important things about being a good salesperson, and that was you asked the right people a good question. You know, and then you listened to the feedback that you got and you implemented it. I did the same thing in the 80s. I went and talked to purchasing agents, and some, you know, especially the government purchasing agents, they could never say things out loud, but sometimes they would refer me to places where to go get the information. But acting on that feedback from the right people, not from well-meaning relatives who really don't know how to run a business, I think is a key.
Yeah, absolutely. And the well-meaning relatives, that's a good one, because you have many people who will seem like naysayers, but in fact, they're not being naysayers as much as they just have, maybe they've seen somebody else who tried to do something and lost all their money in it or whatever. But I don't think you should ignore them just because you're related to them. I think you have to listen to each one, and you might be getting good, well-intended, or you might be getting bad, well-intended advice, but at the same time, you might be getting good, well-intended advice.
Right. But for example, if you had a pain in your side and it, you know, just was bothering you a little bit, you might ask your spouse or your mom, you know, and she would say, oh, you know, relax or drink some water or chicken soup. But if that pain in your side recurred week after week, of course, you'd be a fool not to go to your physician. Yes, you want to take well-meaning advice from people who are related to you, but you also want to go to the right specialist for the right advice. So I tell you, so many small entrepreneurs, they are getting well-meaning bad advice from so many sources. So I just want to say, upgrade your use of time. Talk to buyers. If you're selling something, get your advice from buyers.
Patty, I just want to make sure that people go to your website, because I do think that on your website you do give that type of advice you're talking about, and some testimonials as well. The website, just to repeat, is MauiMastermind.com. Patty DeDominic is our guest.
And you really do stress about the open-mindedness of people. You have to have that to be successful.
Well, not all entrepreneurs are open-minded. I personally believe it's a great way. I love to live life that way. I enjoy every day. I try to enjoy every day and every moment. So, Robin and Larry, I'm interested more about your music business. And so you're now creating books, you're now creating products and services, so you're helping people grow in that way, and you kept your passion.
Absolutely. We went from physical, tangible things like cassettes at first, and then CDs, and now it's all electronic. It's amazing. People, we get a little royalty check. It's not much, but we get a little royalty check each month, or every 3 months in some cases, from the like iTunes and whoever else. You know, people go online and buy stuff, and next thing you know, you got 60 cents.
Exactly.
Patty DeDominic, thank you so much. The website again, MauiMastermind.com. Thank you so much for being on the air with us, Patty.
You're so welcome, and I invite everyone to go there and download the free book. There's lots of free resources and tools, and if there's any area that you're having challenges in your business, chances are one of those videos that you can download for free and watch will give you some ideas.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
The heart of the county. We're WOCA, News Talk 1370.
What you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
About 40% of the things we buy are impulse purchases. Stores know this, so their goal is to keep us there as long as possible with a complicated layout. The number of people taking Ambien and ending up in hospital emergency departments increased by nearly 220% in the last 5 years, and the majority of those ER visits were by women. The more calories we eat at breakfast, the more total calories we're likely to eat the rest of the day.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
Is at the base camp.
Base camp is kind of scrambling, and all the teams are pitching in and trying to help get the bodies off the mountain.
3 other climbers still missing. Officials in Florida say stormy weather may delay today's launch of a SpaceX supply ship to the International Space Station. A leaky rocket valve stopped the launch earlier this week. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
It takes a lot of courage to face your own death, but I'm glad I finally did. See, I was putting off getting life insurance to protect my family, even though I knew it was important. Then my neighbor's husband died,